Last night, Karl Anthony Towns set the Minnesota franchise record for most points scored in a single game with 60 points against the San Antonio Spurs. Not only that, but he also set a league-wide season high of points scored in a game this year. Towns also became the first center to score 60 points in a game since Shaquille O'Neal, and is one of only 5 players in NBA history to score 60 points and 17 rebounds in a single game. He did it in spectacular fashion, making 7 of 11 of his three-point shots and going 19 of 31 from the field. He recorded a ridiculously high 78.9% true shooting during this game. To be that efficient on that many shots, particularly from 3, while also being a big man, is just something that we really haven't ever seen before. Karl Anthony Towns is solidifying himself as the best shooting center in NBA history. If it wasn't clear before, it's certainly clear now. In this video, I want to talk about how Karl Anthony Towns has been having an insanely overlooked season, why he has a case to make an All-NBA team this year, and what I expect from the Timberwolves when the playoffs arrive. Real quick guys, before we get into it, only 5% of the people who watch my videos are subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoy this video and you love the NBA, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell so you never miss another video. It's free and it really helps me out. All that being said, let's get right into it. One thing I want to address right off of the bat is the claim that Karl Anthony Towns is the best shooting big man of all time, or Karl Anthony Towns is the best shooting center of all time. And as far as shooting from beyond the arc goes, it's really not a debate. You can get into the argument about the mid-range, but in terms of perimeter scoring, there is not a big man in NBA history that holds a candle to Cat. This graph shows centers that have played at least 100 games attempting 2 or more three-point shots a game. As you can see, Karl Anthony Towns and Dirk are on an entirely different level, with Dirk shooting 38.5% on 4.2 attempts and Cat shooting 39.7% on 4.1 attempts. Now, regardless of where you fall in the debate, I think one thing we can all agree on is that no big man in NBA history holds a candle to either of these two guys when it comes to perimeter shooting. Where it gets murky is the fact that Dirk was technically a power forward and Cat is a center, so I'll leave this debate to the comment section. I just wanted to point out how far above the competition these two are. Everyone always talks about how Cat is a great shooter for a big man, but the reality is that Cat is a great shooter, period. Only 19 guys in the league are shooting over 40% from 3 on 5 or more attempts, and Cat is the 11th highest in three-point efficiency among those players. His three-point shots aren't just easy catch and shoot threes either. He's a truly decent shot creator. Now, this is an instance where you can say he's a good shot creator for a big man because it's obviously not going to be on par with the shot creation ability of guys like Steph Curry, but it's still really impressive. The fact that a guy who is 6'11" has a step back jumper as solid as he does is honestly insane. He makes it look so effortless, and it's not like he's really doing a whole lot. It's as simple as him just taking a tiny step back and just pulling it. Now, there's a reason why Karl Anthony Towns is such a good three-point shooter. One of the big things that's taught to people when they're trying to improve their shot is to eliminate variables. The less motions that go into your shot, the less opportunities there are for things to go wrong. For Cat, there are very few steps to his shot. You'll notice that when he shoots threes, he barely leaves the ground. He just does this little hop that gets him into motion. Meanwhile, his hands just bring the ball up to his face and he has a clean follow through. There's no hitch, there's no big jump into the air. It's all one fluid and simple motion. Now, this is one of the reasons why he won the three-point contest. His shot is conducive to just quickly putting up a bunch of shots in rhythm. He got into such a good groove because he wasn't having to readjust every time he came back down on the jumper. All of this results in such a fundamentally sound three-point shooter. His efficiency, particularly on above the break threes, is among the best in the entire NBA. Looking at this graph, it's a bunch of guards, and then there's Cat, a center among all of them. It's not just his scoring from beyond the arc either. He's an incredibly talented ball handler and isolation scorer. He's effective on post-ups, and he's got really good footwork to get to the basket after backing down his opponent in the paint. He's having a really good season at the rim, scoring 68.3% of the shots that he attempts in the area around the rim. And while he's not really a good mid-range shooter right now, he's attempted very few of his shots in that range, so he knows what his strengths and weaknesses are, and he leverages them appropriately. He really is way more efficient of a scorer than I feel like he gets credit for, and his playmaking has continued to be an effective weapon for the Timberwolves to occasionally lean on. Offensively, he's just a deadly weapon. He may not be putting up the highest assist numbers in the world, but some of the passes that he's capable of making are really high level, and it's stuff that not a lot of guys, particularly big men, are capable of. There's just so many different ways that he's capable of making the defense's life difficult. It's really easy to look at the box score and see that he's only averaging 3.8 assists per game, but this is still a very important factor in his offensive game, and I think it's something that's going to play a much bigger role as this Timberwolves team continues to progress and he starts to be utilized on offense more as a playmaker in an offensive hub. Like here, he's so good at playing out of the high post, and he's so smart when it comes to finding cutters that are going to the rim. I've seen him make passes like this constantly, and it's something that he's just so good at. Being able to run your offense through your big man is just going to create a ton of problems for the defense because it creates all these mismatches, and as long as there's a ton of movement going on away from the ball with your cutters, then it's going to result in a lot of easy looks at the rim. A lot of people don't seem to be acknowledging this, but Karl Anthony Towns has a legitimate case for an All-NBA selection this season. Obviously, you have Jokic and Embiid, who will get the top 2 center spots for first and second team, but after that, who else really has more of a case to make it than Karl Anthony Towns? Cat has had a perfectly All-NBA worthy season. His numbers are still insanely good and better than every center in the NBA not named Jokic or Embiid. What other guys are even close to averaging 24.8 points, 9.9 rebounds, and 3.8 assists on 64.1% true shooting? I've been having a hard time making an argument for anybody else, so let me know in the comments who you think deserves that third center spot if you don't think that it's Karl Anthony Towns. So now the Timberwolves sit only a game and a half behind the 6th seed and only 3 games back from the 4th seed. As a matter of fact, they're closer to the 4th seed than they are the 9th seed. All it takes is for a couple of losses here and there from some of the teams above them, and then all of a sudden, they're in a top 6 seed spot as long as they continue to string together some wins. They're 8-2 over their last 10 games, and that's while Anthony Edwards has been in a pretty rough shooting slump. Once Edwards starts to get hot again and his scoring picks back up, they shouldn't have an issue boosting that win number up just a little bit more, and then they could get a nice rest while other teams duke it out in the play-in tournament if they can avoid it completely. If they somehow get stuck in the play-in tournament, and God forbid they end up losing and falling into the lottery, I think it exposes a glaring issue in the play-in tournament. Right now, the Timberwolves are 4.5 games ahead of the 8th seed. There's a legitimate possibility that the Timberwolves finish with 45+ wins. The fact that a 45-win team could miss the playoffs against a team that may not even finish over 500 is a very big issue, and to me, it shouldn't be able to happen. Now, I still feel confident that the Timberwolves are good enough to get out of the play-in if they don't snag a top 6 seed, and once they get to the playoffs, they're honestly going to surprise a lot of people. Chris Finch has been incredible in extracting as much value out of this roster as he possibly can, and he comes from the Nick Nurse coaching tree, so he's going to be able to throw all of these different schemes and defenses at the opposing teams, whoever they go up against in the playoffs, and make life miserable for them. The Timberwolves at one point in the season had a top 10 defense in the entire NBA, so if they can tap back into that awesome defense that they had earlier in the year, once they get to the playoffs, this team is going to be really fun to watch. And to me, none of it would be possible without the incredible play from Karl Anthony Towns. I know he gets a lot of flack from people. I know his attitude on the court isn't always the best, but at a certain point, we have to call a spade and acknowledge that Karl Anthony Towns is just simply one of the best offensive centers in the entire NBA, and by far the best three-point shooting center that we have ever seen. So do you guys think that Karl Anthony Towns deserves to make an All-NBA team this year? Do you think that the Timberwolves will sneak into a top 6 seed? Be sure to let me know in the comments below. As always, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe and leave a like on the video. That's the #1 way to help me out with the YouTube algorithm. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.